What's up, Nerdyverse? I'm Daddy Louie, and in this video, we're taking a look at a game called The Little Flower Shop. So stick around. Before we get started, if you're new to our channel and you want to see more content like this, start now by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. The Little Flower Shop is a game that actually was a Kickstarter a couple of years ago, was successful back then. Since then, they have the publishers have released more games, and they have put promos for the Little Flower Shop within those Kickstarters. The edition that we're looking at today is the same edition as back then. This is its second printing, and it is developed by Dr. Finn's Games. Published by them, rather. And at its core, it really is a drafting game, very similar to what you would see in a game like Sushi Go, which is another favorite of mine, where you have a stack of cards per person. You take one, pass it to your left in one round, pass it to your right in the next round, get a new stack, draw again. But that's kind of where the similarities to like Sushi Go stop. This game is a little bit more in depth than that. Cards carry over from round to round, and essentially what you're trying to do is build the most flower power out of your individual flower shop. Each player has their own flower shop, and you're drafting cards to fill the flower shop, complete orders, get just random money from the stash and stuff like that. So even though this game has been out for a little while, it is new to me, and I figure it may be new to you. So if you'll join me on a table, we will take a look at it. Alright, so we start as always by taking a look at the box art. You can see the box art has a very classic look to it. I really like it a lot. Has the publisher's logo down here, the name of the game. This game is set for ages 10 and up. It is 1 to 4 players, and the time that it takes to play a game is about 20 minutes. I would say that all of that is pretty accurate. It only took us about 20 minutes per game to play, and I had a 12-year-old playing with me, and she had absolutely no problems at all. So let's crack this bad boy open. Alright, so once we crack this thing open, you can see that there's actually quite a bit of components inside. You have 96 shop cards, which I'll explain in a few minutes. You have 4 register cards. You have some money broken up into $1, $2, $3, and $5 bills. You also have vases, which are specific for the color player that you choose to be. You have a rule book, which is pretty straightforward. We didn't have any issues learning the rules, and once we knew the rules, we didn't have to reference this again. And also we have like an FAQ card, and then of course the individual colorized flower shop boards. So once you are set up for a game, you'll see here we have our flower shop. We also start with 3 vases in our the color that we have chosen. I've chosen here blue, so our vases are blue. And we also have a register. And each round, each player will be given 7 random cards from the shop cards, or from the shop deck. And again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to generate flower power in between each round, or during each round. And then at the end of the game, we're going to count up how much flower power we have. So the vases are pretty straightforward. You're going to fill the vases up with flowers that match the flowers that are on the vases. And then to calculate flower power, you count the amount of petals that are at the bottom of each vase that is filled. Your flower shop can hold 6 vases on the bottom here. You start with 3 and you can get more later. that go here, and 2 up top in these spots here. So you can have a total of 8 vases. And each vase has a color or type of flower on it. You can see here these are white flowers. This means that any flower can go in there. But it has to be 2 flowers, and it has to be 2 flowers on the same card. Each vase can only hold 1 card. So if I wanted to fill this vase, for example, I look at the cards that I drew from the shop deck, and you can see here the very first card, I have a 2 flower card. There's 2 flowers. It doesn't matter what color they are, they would go inside of this vase, or they could go inside of this vase. And at the end, when we're tallying up, this vase would give me 1 flower power. Pretty simple, straightforward, easy to understand. Now, inside of the shop cards, there are other cards other than just vases and flowers. There is also money. Money can be put in your register, and you can spend that money to do different things in the game. Also inside of the deck is our order cards. So order cards, once you get them, they would go inside of your stash, which I'll explain in a minute. And then you can fill the order to get money. Now, why would you want money? Well, you need money in order to hang baskets. Let me find a basket here, and I will show you how that works. So let's say I draft this basket. It would go into my stash. It has a value of $5. So I have to have $5 in my register in order to hang this basket. And it's worth 4 flower power at the end of the game. And you can have up to 3 baskets. 1, 2, 3. So again, on my turn, I would choose this card to draft. I would put it into my storage area, and then at any time I can pause the game, tell the players I'm going to spend $5 from my register to hang this basket in my flower shop. Again, that's all pretty straightforward. Now, around the board, you'll see some different icons. The first one that I'll mention is the one that we just talked about, which is your storage. If at any time you draft flowers that you can't put into vases, or you draft a basket, or you draft an order card, they will go into your storage. You can only have 4 cards in your storage at any time, so you need to make sure that you're managing what you can play and what you can't play when you're drafting. If at any time you have 4 things in your storage and you would have to add a 5th one, something has to go into the trash, which is over here on this side, which I'll explain in a minute. These 2 symbols up here at the top, they represent basically the order in which the cards are going to go. So again, you start your each round with a hand of 7. So I would choose one of those cards. Let's say I want this order card. I'm going to put it underneath my shop for a minute, and then I'm going to take this stash and I'm going to pass it to my left if it's round 1 and 3, or pass it to my right if it's round 2. And I leave it there until everyone has chosen a card, and then we reveal what card it is that we've chosen, and then do with it what we're going to do. In this case, this would go to my stash. If it was a vase, I could put it in my shop. If it was a flower, I could put it into my vase. If it was money, it would go into my register. Make sense? So, and again, this is round 1 and 3. This is round 2. All right, so the last symbol that we have is this symbol over here, which is the trash. If at any time you have more than 4 things in your stash, something has to go to the trash. If at any time you have vases, at the end of the game, if you have vases that are not filled, they also go into the trash. At the end of the game, if you have anything in your stash, it goes into the trash. So all of your stash goes into the trash at the end of the game, or if you reach more than 4, and any vases that aren't filled go into the trash. Now, at the end of the game, for every 2 cards that you have in the trash, you lose a flower power. Make sense? Great. And the last thing that you can do to score points is money in your register. So if you just want to rack up money, for every $5 that you have left in your register, it will give you 1 flower power. So when adding everything up, let's say for example all of these vases here were filled, and I had this 1 basket, and I had $5 in my register, and 2 cards in my trash. Actually, instead of doing that, why don't I show you? Okay, so here's an example of what your flower shop might look like at the end of a game. Probably have a lot more than this, but this is just a quick example. So this is how we would calculate points. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take any empty vases that you have that you didn't fill, and they're going to go into your trash. Then anything that's left over in your storage is also going to go into the trash. So I now have 3 cards in my trash. Now you're going to add up the vases. So again, each vase that has flowers in it is worth the amount of points that there are petals at the bottom. So here I have 4 petals and 4 petals, which gives me 8 points. 2 more over here gives me 10. This one gives me 1, which is 11. And then I get 4 from this basket, which is 15. Now I also have $5 in my register, which gives me an extra point, which is 16. However, I have 3 cards in my trash, so for every 2 cards I lose a point. So because there's at least 2, I'm going to lose a point, which puts me back down to 15. And that's the amount of points that I have scored this game. I also want to make quick note that the vases are very specific about what type of flower needs to go in them. So you'll see here that this vase here calls for a purple flower and a sunflower, and it has to be those 2 again on 1 card. So that would go into that vase. And you'll notice that 2 flowers here is worth a lot, and that's because the sunflowers are a little on the rare side, so they tend to be worth more. There's less of them, I guess you could say, inside of the deck. Whereas this vase here, these 2 white flowers mean it can be any 2 flowers. It's worth only 1, and I can put that in there like that. The artwork that's on the cards, the flowers, things like that, is just like the artwork that you saw on the front of the box. It's got that real classic hand-drawn feel. It's really, really nice, simple, and it works really, really well for this game. Alright guys, well that is The Little Flower Shop by Dr. Finn's Games. Right now, honestly, I have to say I kind of prefer it to Sushi Go. This is my go-to for drafting games. Especially if you've gotten somebody into Sushi Go and they really enjoy it, like my kids, for example, and my wife. They really like Sushi Go. However, I like this because it adds a little more complexity from a gamer's perspective. So it's kind of a nice balance between what I'm looking for in a game and what they're looking for in a game. So if you like games like that, if you like drafting games, if you like games where over time you're trying to build up your victory points, I really would consider giving this a look. Like I said, it has now become my favorite drafting game, and I think you guys will like it too. I also want to mention that there are a few variants within the rule books. There's a 2-player variant to make it a little more complicated, a 3-player variant to make it a little more complicated, and there is a 1-player variant. All things that I will leave for you guys to discover on your own when you check out the game. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out a lot. Make sure that you share it with your family, friends, and nerdy communities. If you have any suggestions for our channel, anything that you would like to see featured, please comment in the comment section down below and let us know. I do read all of those and reply to the ones that need to be replied to. If you would like to have anything featured on our page, you can do that by contacting us on one of our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Circle of Nerds. We would love to collaborate with you. We also have a podcast, comes out every Tuesday. It's called The Cosmic Disaster Show. It is also now on YouTube. You can find that podcast anywhere that podcasts can be heard, Spotify, iTunes, the works. And if you want to give us a little extra love, definitely check us out over on Patreon at patreon.com/Circle of Nerds. Anyway, guys, that's all from me. I will see you in the next video.